Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Cactus Farming Simulator 2014 by developer Chris Myre. It's another game from the 7-Day FPS Game Jam, and it is exactly what the name implies. We're going to be doing some cactus farming today. I hope you're very excited for that. I certainly am. So what's the deal with this? Well, it's an Unreal Engine 4 enabled little sandbox world where we've got this hot pink bubblegum shotgun here that we can create all kinds of cacti and also some water apparently with, although I'm not entirely sure what that is all about. But let's take a little bit of a look around and I'll explain some of the tools that we've got here because some of them have a little bit more depth than you might expect. I started us off on this little mountain range just so you could see that there's a little bit of breadth going on to the verticality in this world, although we're predominantly going to be hanging out likely by the oasis over there or that oasis over there. Honestly, it doesn't matter. We can go wherever we want. So let's pick a spot. And we'll get to the cactus farming. So there's a lot of ways that we can break this game. I want you to be aware of that first off. If this does end up being one of those videos where the frame rate goes really bad because I've created too many cacti, well, I'll do my best to address that in post. But I'll also be trying not to push the limit, and it's very easy to push that limit in this game because, well, it's an Unreal Engine 4 thing, and, you know, processing power is always at a bit of a premium when it comes to stuff like this, and it's very easy to abuse all of the tools you've been given to create, you know, extraneous objects and such. So you've got this beautiful little oasis here, some palm trees swaying in the wind, some lovely Unreal Engine looking water there, and some grassy sand also, and some dynamic shadows. So let's start creating the cacti. Well, actually, before we get to that, let's look at the tab menu because it's kind of important. Down at the bottom, we can press 1 or 2 to choose a tool. So 1 is our cactus tool, 2 is our water tool. I really think the only thing the water tool is for feeding the cacti, maybe helps them grow more or something like that. We can press E to build a house. I'm going to do that right now, and we'll actually create a whole bunch of little shanty towns, I'm sure, over the course of this video. And you can use left mouse for tool, right mouse for delete, so you can get rid of that house if we don't want it anymore. We can press F to pass the time. Always a lovely thing to see when we've got the sun rising and setting. Yeah, there it goes. Woo! Very pretty. All right, well, the important thing about passing the time is actually that's exactly when the cacti will do their most growing is obviously when the sun is directly overhead. They really do love the whole light thing. And we can press X or C to raise or lower numbers. As you can see, it says Cactus Tool +2. So the quickest way to break this game, if you're interested, is to set the cactus tool up to like +20 or 50 or whatever high number you feel like, and then plant one and see what happens. I'll do it, but I'll probably reset in just a second here. Let's set it to 20. So here's a cactus. Everything's fine. It's going to grow slowly. Let's pass the time a little bit. Oh my goodness, it got very, very large. And it's going to actually start sprouting other little arms off of that cactus. And I guess as long as we leave things alone and don't pass the time too much right now, we could probably get away with it. But if we were to do this with maybe a +40 cactus, we'd very quickly find ourselves at the center of a massive pile of organic material, which we probably really don't have control over. So actually, I'm just going to get rid of these before we kill our frame rate. And I'll actually plant just a bunch of +1 cacti around. You can also, if you choose to, go ahead and add extra little arms and limbs onto these cacti just to, you know, bring them up the way you want. If you want to have a certain type of cactus farm, who am I to stop you? You do what you need to do. You be your own cactus farmer and make things the way you want to make them. So let's take this little range here, this one little growing area, and we'll fast forward this. And we'll see, since these are only +1, they do get much larger, and they're going to sprout. And they're probably going to sprout again on the next day. And actually, this is a good time to try out the water tool and see if that does anything. Let's just put it specifically right on this one and see if this helps. And then we'll fast forward time. Yeah, okay, so that one seems to have grown a lot more than the others. So I guess that's what that does. Kind of maybe each ball of water is kind of like adding a +1 to the cactus. And then give that another day. Yep, totally seems to work that way. Cool, now I know. Alright, so that's one element of the whole cactus farming thing. Let's delete some of these. Oh, another factor I should tell you about, if you go too crazy with the delete gun, be careful. You'll very likely run into the situation where you shoot one of these balls too far, and I think if it goes past the mountain range or, you know, out of your, like, draw distance area, it deletes the floor, and then you'll fall through the ground. You just have to reset. It's not a big deal, you just hit escape, and then R to restart. So, you know, you can do that at any time. Just letting you know. So let's make some houses, I guess. Let's make a little area for dwelling. And we can actually we can create houses on top of other houses and almost create that, like, Papo and Yo style surreal box town. Oh, I made one off in the distance there on the mountain range there. I don't know if you noticed. It's interesting, too, how these are so minimalistic. They're just basically box houses, but that little bit of bump mapping on the side actually makes them look so much fancier. It's really quite something. All right, so let's add a whole ton of these suckers. And now the other cool thing that I discovered by accident, and I think it actually told me to do this somewhere, but I just didn't notice, is if you shoot in the position where there would be a door or a window, you can actually change and redecorate like that. So there we go. You could actually create a little pagoda and walk through. Also, sometimes this little red gem spawns in the ground. I've noticed this more than once. I don't know what this is about, but just this one little chunk of polygons right there seems to sit in the floor, and when the sun seems to catch it just right, it just becomes this massive red lens flare. It's very curious, very mysterious. I like to believe that there's probably some sort of bizarre creature that we can spawn from this and create a whole other sub-game. Actually seems to be in every single house. I thought I've spawned houses where it didn't have one, but maybe not. Maybe I am mistaken. So I think I've sealed... Yes, I have. I've sealed that ball in with the gem. And that is a thing you can do. Like, there's no real rules to how this all works. You just kind of go nuts and hope you get what you want. I don't really know if you can just pick exactly where you want the door to show up. It'll just sort of bounce around. You know, you can work with it as you will. The other cool thing is you can kind of like build these up against each other and create rows of houses. Okay, this is probably not the correct way to do this, but I'm going to have fun with it anyway. And we'll do one of these. And we'll try and make a big long hallway here. No. Well, then you're going to end up with cacti growing in your doorway. It's not appropriate. Trying to use this cactus. Come on. Now you just got windows. Oh my god, I'm breaking everything. We got windows, we got door frames, we got crazy glitched out textures and crystals everywhere. But that's pretty cool, right? Let's get rid of some of these houses. Yeah, I do like creating floating houses as well in the air. I wonder if there's a way we can get up on top of them and like create our own little adventure map in a world of houses. The poly count actually seems to hold pretty well, as long as you don't go too nuts with the cacti. But I've had zero problems with the houses, though. These guys seem to be quite sturdy. As you can imagine, you know, they're just a primitive box with a couple of things cut out of them. But, you know, the bump mapping and all that doesn't seem to influence much. It'd be kind of neat, too, if you could, like, change the cactus plus number and then also have that affect, like, the complexity of the houses that you create. Now, something about this is just surprisingly compelling. I'd kind of love to see this taken in another direction and just see more options, more ways to, you know, sculpt the land, create exactly the cactus farm that you want to create. So let's make a little grouping here. Oh, you know what else I should do? I should create a ring and box myself in, because that's always entertaining to watch as well. We'll go from having full freedom to completely losing sight of reality in just a very short amount of time. This is probably about as far as I could get away with before we start losing frame rate. So far it's still been locked at 60, but like I said, it doesn't take much. If you want to go a little nuts with the cacti, you could very easily drop this down. Alright, so we're boxing ourselves in, created a beautiful ring of cacti. It'd be kind of neat if you could like light these all on fire Minecraft style and just watch everything burn, create them like a, you know, a wick or something, like, or a fuse of cacti going off in some direction, then use it to light a house on fire or something, but that's just a little crazy. Oh no! Yep. I'm super trapped. And then it will become night and we will freeze to death on the desert floor, surrounded by this wall of plant matter. Should be able to dig out, no problem. Just use the eraser gun. Everything's fine. But what a strange premise, isn't it? Cactus farming game. I really enjoy watching the cacti grow. They're very cool the way they split apart. But there's just something about these plant simulator games. Like, I just seem to have this thing about building stuff out of plants lately. Oh, wow. It looks like that house was, like, lifted up in the air by that cactus that was growing out of the ground. I love if we could see that other game I covered the other day, Meadows, have them combine forces with this game and create a procedurally generated world to create your cactus farm within. And you could have, like, 2 levels deep of that. Surprised I haven't shot one of these delete balls out of the world yet and deleted the floor, but I'm sure that'll happen eventually. Really love the effects of the day-night cycle as well. I mean, kind of extraneous in this particular situation, considering there's not a lot of, like, other details other than just that the cactus grows, but it's neat to look at anyway. And it does some nice things with the shadows and the way it plays off the mountains. Some of these textures are not the best scaled, of course, but, you know, it's a 7-day FPS game, jam game, can't be too upset about that. Really, it's a strange and unique original premise, and, you know, that's what I'm here to find on Indie Impressions. I kind of wish the character's thumb was attached also, but, you know, it's a game about farming cacti. How can I be upset about that either? Anyway, I think that's about all I want to go over with this one. You should definitely go give this a download, give it a try yourself. It is totally free, of course. See what kind of crazy worlds you can create and what kind of, you know, limits you can push your graphics card to with the most complex, crazy cacti. The limit for me was, I think, Cactus plus 40, and then just let that grow with the F button pressed down, and yeah, that'll do it pretty quickly. You could even try and make a labyrinth out of these things, because they do actually have some mass, although the clipping is not exactly where the textures are, but, you know, that's fine. I guess the way this always tends to work is the character model has some mass at the center of it, and it's always just, like, where the camera sits instead of where the gun reaches to. So, I don't know, that's one of those things that I was kind of hoping eventually engines would just sort of start to build in, where if the tip of something touches something, it's like the collision starts there instead of where the camera runs into the mass, but, you know, it could also just be on a per-game basis that's an issue. Oh, I didn't realize I could skip rocks over this. By skip rocks, I mean shoot cactus balls. Can I bounce the ball into another ball? No, apparently not. Oh, one other thing I can do, and this is totally silly, but if I shoot a few of these up in the air, just use this for a guiding measuring post here. Let's wait for them to fall back down and see if I can position my head. Yeah, I can bounce them around. They bounce right off my head. And I don't know where those all went. They seem to have evaporated into the sky. Maybe if they don't touch ground, eventually they break or something. Oh, yeah, you could see this framing shot with the extra added bonus of a little bit of dynamic lighting growing off of everything. You could start shooting them with water, too, and see what that does. Oh, I could do water plus something. I assume that would just make them all grow even faster. Like, they need more incentives to do that, right? Yep, that's pretty much what happens. Yeah, oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Well, that's a little broken now, isn't it? Can I actually climb up that? I wonder if I could actually delete the ones around it and just climb up this massive monolithic cacti. This would be the way that I could get up on top of one of the houses, by the way, if I could figure out a way up. Nope, doesn't look like it. It's a little too tall, unfortunately. Well, that would give me a new vantage point anyway, but what are you going to do? I'm sure there's another way you could get that to happen, you know. Find the right one at the right angle, cause it to grow, climb it. The end. You get the idea. Anyway, that's going to do it for Cactus Farming Simulator 2014. I like it. I think you should try it out. It's a pretty silly thing. That's what I look for here on Indie Impressions. Every day a new game. Always a unique artistic original or just generally strange indie game. So if you're into that concept, feel free to come on back tomorrow. I've been doing this for 950 plus consecutive episodes, so with your support, we will keep that going. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like on it. Quickest and easiest way to leave support for the series. And I will see you all back for another one tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you all later.